Angelo here of Lambros Realty. As you know, we didn't do real estate at 8 on Wednesday, this Wednesday that had just passed. So obviously I'm catching up on that today, so being Saturday. It will continue as of Wednesday the 24th of August though, so more information on that later. But yeah, basically what I want to talk to you about today is the key principles of negotiation. Now that's what I was meant to talk to you about on Wednesday, of course. So the thing with negotiation, right? It's highly regarded, very important. A lot of people don't use it effectively. So I'm going to go through some key principles that really make sense and will hopefully help you guys. So I guess, when you look at it, the best time, well, one of the truisms of real estate, obviously, is you make money when you buy. Now, a lot of savvy investors don't buy in markets that are already booming, okay? Or what they look for is markets that are flat with strong future prospects, okay? And really, that you want to look at your strongest capital gain, and that'll happen when you buy, okay? So, as far as principles are concerned, one of the keys is preparation. Okay. Now, preparation in any negotiation is essential. Preparation means study, knowledge, going in prepared. Imagine going into a meeting, you're not prepared, you're not going to look too good, you're going to get chopped down. Like a lawyer presenting a case, they get all their facts before they start presenting. Without that, don't have much of a chance. So, with one of the things as well is people think you've got to be arrogant and rude and hard to be a strong negotiator. False. What it comes down to is your knowledge. The one that's calm and composed and has the knowledge will chop down the arrogant and rude person anytime. Okay, so again, preparation, look out for that. Knowing how to communicate is a big one as well. Now, when I say knowing how to communicate, that's not talking about being educated or articulate or anything of the sort. Take your average footy show presenter, for instance, okay? They, with all due respect, most of them aren't well educated, but they manage to get their point across, okay? And the key is getting the point across in a passionate manner, and that's what these guys do so well, right? They're passionate, they're sincere, and that's how the message gets across. So knowing how to communicate is essential. Doesn't come down to education or how articulate you are. I'm not the most educated or articulate person myself, but it's just getting the point across. Seeing it from the other side is also another key to look out for in negotiation. It's often underused but very powerful. Look at things from the other person's perspective, okay? A lot of people think that a successful negotiation comes down to I win, you lose. You read any negotiation expert's book or anything of the sort, they will tell you the key to any successful negotiation is when both parties win, okay? That is the key to a true negotiator. So, coming in with empathy and seeing it from the other side, and people actually understanding that, it's a fair transaction for both, will be appreciated, and you'll find that people will be more willing to give. And at the end of the day, it'll be a happy transaction. Asking lots of questions, okay, that's another key. With questions you accumulate knowledge. If you talk too much, you're not listening, right? So asking questions, saying little, taking it on board, the more somebody says or gives away, it's an ace up your sleeve, okay? The more you talk and the less they do, just consider that they may be using what you're saying against you in a negotiation, okay? So, when you ask lots of questions, if you're sitting there thinking, gee, I don't know what to ask, what's a good question? Ask open-ended questions that are non-intrusive, that aren't threatening, sort of put it back in a polite manner. Do you feel this request is fair? If you weren't going to go ahead with the sale of this property, what were you thinking of doing? right? So just soft questions that open a discussion that'll, pave the way into a better negotiation for you. Now, timing. Now, this is a little trick I want to share with you guys, and something I don't believe many people do, and I don't see it done often enough. And if I'm buying, this is what I'd be doing. So if you're buying, listen up. Timing. So I'll give you an example. A lot of people get frustrated. They don't, does the agent submit my offer? They question that, okay? So as a buyer, you're always worrying. Agent takes the offer. They go behind closed doors. What are they doing with the offer? So what are they doing with the offer? God only knows, okay? Chances are they're probably behind closed doors using your offer and baiting it against somebody else and using it to bunny hop and beat your offer, blah, blah, in which case you'll never get the best price anyway. So if you want to avoid that, my advice would be this. Say you find a property you really like. Let's look at an auction property, okay? Say the property's worth, you think it's worth 1.5. The price guide, they're giving you about a 1.3 to 1.4, right? So obviously trying to lure you in, get the numbers there at the auction. Now, say you've got a budget of 1.6, okay? What I'd be doing is coming in at your 1.5, if that's what you think it's worth, okay? And putting it back on the agent, okay? So putting it back on the agent and vendor, obviously if you're a buyer here, this is my offer, right, of 1.5, take it or leave it. You've got till, say it's a Saturday, you've got till, close of business Monday to get back to me, right? Otherwise, not interested, okay? So what you want to do, if they're expecting 1.3 to 1.4 or 1.5 as a max, you could really put it back on them by saying, look, take it or I walk. So what you're doing is getting rid of the auction pressure. Are you sitting there, have I lost money? Well, no, because you've got 1.6 to spend and, you're going to buy for 1.5. Now, if they decline, you go back to the auction in 2 weeks' time, okay? In which case you'll still be looking for other properties anyway, and take a second bite at the cherry. Now, if the auction falls through, guess what? That 1.5 you told the agent, I'm going to pay you 1.45 today. Okay? So, these are things to put time constraints. Put time constraints back on the vendor, back on the selling agent. Private treaty, for instance. If a property's been on the market and you're worried about agents, bunny hopping offers, as I mentioned earlier, tell the agent, look, you viewed the property 10 o'clock that morning, and tell them that, look, I want an answer by Saturday, that day at 5 o'clock. Now, if you don't get back to me, I'm leaving, I'll go somewhere else, right? So, give a deadline. So let the deadline work in your favor, right? But obviously, when you do this, you've got to be prepared to walk away. Obviously this does work better for investors, admittedly, because they can take the emotion out of it. But, if you're a buyer that doesn't get emotionally attached and you've got a few homes up your sleeve, try it, or, stick with the agent while you're making the offer and have them call the vendor then and there. Say, look, I want an answer. I'm keen to move. I'm ready to buy. The seller wants to sell. Let's do the deal. Right? So essentially what you want to do is to avoid those little sales tricks of agent going back to the office behind closed doors. Will get back to you. They'll get back to you, but they'll come back and tell you there's been a higher offer, and you'll sit there scratching your head going, is that true? Is it not? What do I do? So, wouldn't you much rather have the power? So food for thought, guys. Now, the KISS principle, right? So keep it simple, stupid, okay? Now, the key to any negotiation is keeping it simple. Sellers are more inclined to take an offer with no strings attached, even if the offer is lesser than one that is a higher offer, but there's all sorts of strings attached, and vice versa, okay? Keeping it simple. You don't want to give people a reason to say, this is all too hard, just forget it, right? That'll shoot any negotiation in the foot. See you later. The other big one is terms and conditions, which sort of comes in the form of the KISS principle, I guess. you know, it's not always about price. You know, it's about your terms and conditions. You know, if you're looking at a 42-day settlement and, you know, the seller wants 30 days, and as a purchaser, you can honor the 30 days, but in doing so, you know, you'd want a $10,000 discount or $5,000, whatever it may be for doing so. You know, use that to your advantage. You know, use the terms and conditions. It's not always about price, right? So little things like that can make a difference. You know, the option of letting the sellers stay on and rent if they're worried about finding somewhere else to go. You know, you can give them that option, you know, which will sweeten the deal. And then you can ask for a discount in price. Or, you know, just, I guess what I'm getting at here, guys, is look outside the box. It's not always about price. You know, if you shoot down the price path, immediately people are going to get their back hairs up. And not that there's anything wrong, you know, people fear the price negotiation that, oh, gee, I feel bad to ask for a discount, but, you know, it's natural. Don't fear it. It's, you know, you'd be surprised at how many things we negotiate on a day-to-day basis, you know, talking with family to negotiate a place to go for a function, or, you know, little things we're constantly negotiating. And just on that, many negotiation experts say that kids are often the best negotiators. So what happens to adults as we grow up? Well, you know, we get a bit more self-conscious or whatever it may be, but kids are so good at going, you know, mummy, daddy, but why? Why? Right? It's that always but why, and it always hits a point where it's like, oh, well, just whatever. Just have it, because you've had enough. Find the inner child. So, okay, so, sorry. Maybe drifted from the terms and conditions, but now understanding where the power lies. Okay, now whoever has the power in a negotiation wins. It's that simple. So, you know, when I say power, it doesn't mean being bullying someone with no facts. Obviously, if you bully someone and you're in a negotiation and they're falling to pieces, well, you're winning, right? But the power will always come to those who are calling the shots, right? Not the one that's always going, yes, sir, yes, yep, I'll see what I can do, yep. So, you know, power is one of the big things in any negotiation. So just be very mindful of that. And to ascertain power, as I touched on before, knowledge. Knowledge is power. You research, you prepare, that's power. Okay? Now, the price factor. Now, price. The thing is this, guys, with negotiating, price, and any negotiation expert, I mean, if you read the novel, for instance, The Negotiation Genius, written by Max Berman and, sorry, my apologies, but two Harvard University professors, The Negotiation Genius, great book. But what they talk about, and as do many negotiation experts, when you negotiate, you start from a point of power. So, point of power, as you can see, you know, the Department of Fair Trading has abolished, and thankfully, the offers over, right? Because once upon a time we had this foolish offers over system that was indicating we're not going to accept this offer, so offer more, so we're going to put an offers over. That's not negotiating. So, same can be said with auction. You're starting from a point of weakness, trying to work your way up. As the negotiation experts say, you start from the top. Think of a mountain. It's much easier to climb down a mountain than climb up, right? Less resistance. So, the thing is this, when you're starting low, right, and I'll give you an example of an auction, for instance. Let's go back to that example I was going, let's say a property that was going to auction for 1.3 to 1.4 was the guide, but 1.5 was really what they were expecting. Bidding begins at 1.3. Okay, so immediately you're at a point of weakness, right? You're trying to climb the mountain. Now, you know, the thing is this, bidding begins, a bit of pressure, it goes up to 1.42, it sells. Okay, so here we are boasting it sold 120,000 above reserve. Okay, so we've sold 120,000 above reserve, but the guy that bought it was actually willing to pay 1.6. Okay, so had we listed the property at 1.6, guess what? That's where we would have sold. Okay, and I know a lot of you watching will go, but hold on, you know, if we price it too high, there's not going to be any competition. Once we put it to real estate and domain, everybody sees it. All we're going to do is sell other people's properties, so we have to make it more competitive. Yeah, you do, but you make it competitive before you go to real estate and domain, and there are strategies in which you can use that can have you sold and test the market at the high price before you go to real estate and domain and still get the same numbers looking. That's my ace up my sleeve. But that's what you should be able to do, right? Start high and negotiate down. If the auction falls through, guess what? That 1.3 or 1.42 gets passed in, that 1.5 you wanted, public humiliation, people see the auctions falling through, they're going to see the property as a 1.42, good luck trying to get your 1.5, right? At least when you start high, guess what? When you come down and meet the market to where it is, you're in a point of power. Okay? Power. So, anything can be negotiated. No negotiation is final. Okay? So, going back on what I said before, you know, using the timing to your advantage, put it back on the agent. You know, if the agent says, no, we're not doing that, how dare you put such constraints or pressures on us? Well, you know, they do the same to you. I think it's only fair. But anything can be negotiated, because when that auction goes forward and they've declined your genuine offer of 1.5 to begin with, guess what? You can renegotiate, so you get your second bite at the cherry. So just because a negotiation is closed, you know, for the time being, doesn't mean it can't be reopened. Okay? Another thing, keep aces up your sleeve at all time. One of the keys is to negotiation is being sincere and honest, but at the same time, you know, always keep an ace up your sleeve. You don't want to reveal and give everything away. You don't want to tell people as a buyer what is the highest price you're willing to pay. You know, as a seller, you don't want to compromise the lowest price you're willing to sell for, right? These are aces up your sleeve. You know, and if you're ever in a pressure situation, you know, always push it back and say, look, I have to, you know, speak to my higher authority before I do anything, whether it be a solicitor or a family member. Always use that as your fallback and give it some time to make some thought, to give some thought to what you're about to do. You know, whilst it might seem a good offer or legitimate offering at the time, you know, once you sign afterwards, it may not be. Think about it. Right? Give it some good thought before you sign your house away or whatever it may be. Okay? And our final key principle negotiation is be prepared to walk away. Okay? Now, as I touched on before, investors do this so well because they obviously don't have an emotional interest in a property. Okay? You know, as a home buyer, you find your dream home. The ability to walk away is hard. And look, this is where it may very well be worth engaging a buyer's agent, okay? Because these guys can negotiate on your behalf. They're professionals. They will use the techniques that I just touched on before, putting the timing deadline on the agent without shutting the negotiation, without fearing the negotiation. They'll know how to open the negotiation and re-enter it. They take the emotional attachment away, but you know, they will give you every fighting chance of using every ace up their sleeve to secure the property for you. But yeah, preparation to walk away is the big thing, and you know, just be careful when you're pulling a bluff like, well, just sell it to someone else, or I'm not interested in buying this, when in actual fact you may very well be, right? Because that could very well backfire and you could miss out on the home of your dreams. So, you know, again, being prepared to walk away, often, you know, if you're not going to engage a professional buyer's agent or anything of the sort, and you want to stand it alone, which mind you, I'm sure most of you can, just have options up your sleeve. Because when you've got options and are looking somewhere else, it's, you know, you're not as emotionally drawn to that one property. So again, as I said before, aces up your sleeve. Having multiple properties to choose from in a specific area could be your ace up your sleeve, which means you're prepared to walk away from the property you're looking at. So As you can see, a lot of these things I'm talking about are intertwining and they're starting to cross over. So just to summarize what we've spoken about. Now, the key principles are this: preparation, know how to communicate, see it from the other side, ask lots of questions, timing, solve problems, the KISS principle, terms and conditions, understand where the power lies, the price factor, anything can be negotiated, aces up your sleeve, and be prepared to walk away. Okay? So, if you guys have any further questions, again, my name is Angelo, Director of Lambros Realty. You can email me on info@lambrosrealty.com.au. You can call me at the office 02-8628-7128. Happy to answer any further questions or any negotiation tips I may be able to share and give you a hint on how to do things. Share some of my aces. So I guess that draws to a conclusion this live Facebook broadcast. Next broadcast will be on Wednesday the 24th of August, where we will talk about the pros and cons of bridging loans. Okay, so I'd like to thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you again next Wednesday, 24th of August, 8 a.m. Same time, same channel. See you guys.